Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Please check out the KCC Discord linked in the description down below. There you can talk to me and a whole bunch of KCC fans who hang out there on a regular basis. I look forward to seeing you there. Our first story today comes to us from Gelatinous Stand. Sure, you can have an accounting of my every minute. Let's jump right in. Mid-2020, I moved across the country and started a new job. Before I accepted, I made it clear that I would need an adjusted schedule because of COVID and childcare issues. I'm told this is totally fine. We're all adults and can manage our own time. As long as I'm working the right number of hours within certain parameters, everything will be great. It became obvious very quickly that my new boss and I were not getting along. She was very proud of her computer science PhD from the 90s and hadn't learned a thing about computers since, while I was supposed to be tech support, and she really didn't like being wrong. Also, I was morally opposed to holding an 80-person indoor event because, again, COVID. Anyway, about 3 months into my tenure, she tells me that she forgot to tell me that she needs an accounting of my time each week to make sure it all adds up to enough hours. She says everyone does them, and she'd just forgotten to have me start. I ask around, very small team, about 5 people. Nobody has ever heard of anything like this. I ask her about what they said. She says she needs to make sure that I'm not getting away with working less because of my modified schedule and to just do it. So I write down every single deviation from the standard schedule every single time. Arrived 1 minute early, it goes on the spreadsheet. Took a 3-minute shorter lunch, on the spreadsheet. Left 7.5 minutes early to get my kids, better believe that half a minute is going on the spreadsheet. Stayed 11 minutes late? Hell yeah. Did I make my schedule even weirder than usual? Maybe. I used Excel to make sure everything totaled exactly perfectly, but she didn't tell me to do the math for her, so I deleted it before I printed the spreadsheet out to sign and turn in. She spent almost an hour the first time doing math. I know this because she complained endlessly about it to my coworker. It took all of 2 weeks, 2 spreadsheets, for her to tell me that I could start managing my own time again. I quit a month later, but that's a different tale of malicious compliance. Gotta admit, kinda disappointed this one didn't go the way we see other posts like this go. 5 minutes for filling out time card, 5 minutes for filling out time card for filling out time card, etc, etc. Come on. You could have been a lot more petty with this one. Do me a quick favor and take a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're actually not subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. This next story comes to us from Training Outcome 5466. You want me to email you everything? Sure. Let's jump right in. So this is from back when I was in college. I was working a job on campus and my manager moved on to a different organization and was replaced by someone else who we'll call Karen. Now, our team of 10 students worked super well, very efficient, and got everything as expected. Karen comes in and decides that the team needs to change the way we work. So she makes massive changes and makes our lives harder. But it's all part of the job and we deal with it. Also, I was the unofficial leader of the team and constantly advocated for my team. We were close and we knew what worked for each of us, and the rest of the team looked to me as a leader. So obviously Karen hated me because I'd advocate against stupid policies that had no benefit but only made our lives harder. Each of us had a weekly one-on-one meeting with Karen to discuss the stuff we got done, needed to get done, etc. As always, I went in with an agenda, made sure she got all the updates I had, made sure she answered all my questions, made sure I answered all her questions, and then ensured I had a 5-minute space at the end for her to discuss anything she had to talk to me about. 2 weeks into the changes, she tells me that I have not been updating her properly. Surprised, I ask her what updates I didn't give, and as she lists it out, I point to the agendas of our previous 2 meetings and show her that I did discuss it. She says that verbal updates aren't acceptable, and I need to email them to her. I am confused, but I know how to pick my battles and agree to it. In fact, she writes me up for not properly communicating with her, not giving her updates, and not keeping her in the loop about my work, so I am pissed off. After the meeting, I check with my team, and this isn't the setup for anyone. Everyone gives her verbal updates and sometimes emails them, but there's no real rule for it to be an email every time. So I decided to follow her policies as she stated. That evening, I sent her a long email with the details of everything I got done over the last 2 weeks. The next day onwards, every day when I clock in, I send her an email with my tasks for the day. As I complete tasks, I update her via email, and if I'm stuck on something, update her on that too. I CC her on all the emails I send, and also send her an email at the end of the day with what I didn't get done. Now, this doesn't take me long because I write most of these emails in my own tracker, so it's just a matter of copy-paste. However, when writing in my tracker, I do it on my time, but since this is a work-related task, I must do it on the clock. So not only is she getting approximately 15 emails a day from me, she's also paying me for about 1 extra hour each day. This matters later. Given how new Karen is, she doesn't realize that I have built a mini network with some of her colleagues given my time in this job, and I find out that Karen now has a habit of ignoring all emails from me. Also matters later. I don't care about it because I'm now getting paid for stuff I was doing on my own time. A couple of months or so later, our department has to host an event. The tasks are divided and all is good. The 2 tasks I have are to manage the food for all the guests and to provide parking tickets to the guests in advance. Large university, parking office is a pain to work with. I get the parking done and then I focus on the food the week before the event because we only got final confirmations then. I realize that there are several guests who have various dietary restrictions. I also am suddenly told that a few of the guests are in wheelchairs. They told me that because they needed specific parking spots, but our venue is not accessible. Given the importance of this, I immediately email her, but knowing that she ignores my emails, I CC the parking team to ensure they have a consolidated list because Karen obviously won't send it, and the person managing guests during the event so they know to ask Karen about the special meals when the guests arrive. We don't have any more one-on-ones before the event, so I try to figure out how to tell her to make sure the guests aren't affected. I try to schedule a meeting with her, but given that she's ignoring my emails, she is also ignoring all my meeting requests. So I give up and decide to enjoy the fireworks during the event. The reason I need to talk to her is that I need the budget increase to accommodate these multiple dietary restrictions. Gluten-free meals plus nut-free meals all really add up, and we were at the max of my permitted budget already. Essentially, we had a meal budget of say $20 a person, but these special meals cost $25 a person. One thing that makes doing this difficult for me is that as much as I hate Karen, I do not have the ability to let that hate for Karen affect other people. So I spoke to facilities to get a ramp kept in the back room for the wheelchairs and found that about 5 of the people coming had not picked meals, so we didn't have to offer them meals. Got the caterers to set it up so we could provide a reduced offering to those 5 while ensuring that the gluten and nut-free meals were available for those who had asked. Day of the event, the guests in wheelchairs arrive and are stuck at the entry to the event that has 3 steps. Given that I am managing the food, no one thinks to blame me, so Karen is frantically running around trying to find someone to throw under the bus because her boss is chewing her out. Then I hear the words gluten intolerant. 20 seconds later, Karen and her boss are in my face, ready to chew me out. I was fully prepared for this, and the conversation went something like this. Didn't you know we have people who cannot eat either of the standard meals? Yes, I did. I emailed you about it because we needed to increase the meal budget to accommodate that. Did you not speak to the caterers? I didn't get any such email, while her boss gives her a look. I sent it to you, see? Shows the email on my phone. Boss says, Karen. Karen in literal tears because this event is her boss's baby, and people have gotten in a lot of trouble over messing up this event. But you didn't send it to me, did you? Boss was very mad. What do we do now? Let me figure something out. Also, I see people in wheelchairs. What are we doing about them? No clue. We're trying to figure it out. I'll take care of that too. 10 minutes later, I go to the boss. I got facilities to give us a ramp that we're putting by the stairs for the guests in a wheelchair, and I spoke to the caterers and we'll have the gluten-free and nut-free meals ready. Thanks. 2 days later, I had my one-on-one with Karen. Surprisingly, her boss was there. Lo and behold, Karen got written up. My write-up was removed. Karen stopped trying to mess with me, and the entire team now has laughs every time we mention a gluten allergy. There was a saying down in the comments for this one, and I really liked it. It says, "She who lives by the ignored email dies by the ignored email." I do love how you covertly solved all the problems without anybody knowing, and then when the problems were brought to you, it made you look extra competent because you were able to solve them in record time. Well done, OP. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but our next story today comes to us from Haitu was taken? I don't know, let me know down below. You want me to move out of your way? But of course, please help me to do so. Let's jump right in. This story takes place on a dark, cold, rainy winter morning. It was about 7:30 a.m., outside temperature was not above 5 Celsius, and I was in my car as many others, patiently sitting in traffic. I was in a roundabout at the exit of it. My car was still fully in the roundabout's right lane, and there was a lot of traffic before and after me. Though I was taking a lot of space in the roundabout, I did my best to get as close as possible to the car in front of me, so the cars who want to go around the roundabout could pass behind me. Granted, they had to get their wheel on top of the not high concrete plate the middle of the roundabout was made of to be able to pass behind me. Several cars made their way around the roundabout without me stopping them whatsoever. Then comes this SUV. SUV being higher and having bigger wheels than the previous Polo or Golf that already passed behind me without issues. I was very surprised when he stopped behind me and started honking, as I was, to my appreciation, already almost touching the car in front of me. Of course, I didn't push. The guy kept honking, then got out of his car visibly aggravated, but he also seemed taken aback when I lowered my windows with a friendly smile on my face. I guess he was expecting me to be hostile. Here, B will be that 50-year-old boomer and M will be me. "Can you move? Don't you see you're blocking traffic?" Well, I would if I could. I'm already almost touching the car in front of me. He went in front of my car to check and came back, realizing his stupidity but refusing to admit it. Well, you could move it closer still smiling and being friendly. "Oh sure, of course, I cannot see in front. You can just help me do so." "What?" "Yeah, just guide me. Tell me how close I can get." I then proceed to move forward as slowly as possible while that guy was trying to pretend I had more room to move forward, but couldn't commit to it because of how close I was already. While we were playing that little game, traffic began moving again, and I just passed that guy without even looking at him. Okay, here we go. I'm 40 years old, and I've had people call me a boomer before, but I'm not a damn boomer. There's a comment down below that kind of puts this point across. It says, "Good story, but a 50-year-old person in the current year would be Gen X, not a boomer. The youngest boomer is 58. Just tired of my generation being forgotten and either being insulted as boomers by younger generations or by the actual baby boomers and called a millennial. I mean, if you want to insult us, at least be accurate." This next story comes to us from D Harmon 555. "Won't approve my purchases? Okay, I can work with that. Let's jump right in." I was a one-man IT shop at a small manufacturer. I had been there for years. I was actually the third employee ever hired, and now the company was like 120 people. I was very frugal, but in smart ways. I got a lot done for little money and always was looking out for the company. The owner recognized and respected this. Anyhow, we had gotten big enough where I didn't report to the owner anymore, and I was assigned to report to an inexperienced accountant who got her degree from some sketchy online school. She was going to change the world. I used to be able to just buy anything I wanted because the owner knew whenever I asked for a company credit card that I had already done my homework and it would be good for the company. Well now, if anything was over $500, I had to go through this process with her to justify it. It wouldn't bug me, except that she had no real business savvy or common sense. It was just painful to me to try and explain the most obvious things to her, and she would fight it just because of power tripping or something. Example, I was trying to justify having at least one computer loaded up and ready to go as a hot spare for when something broke. she balked at having $1,500 sitting on a shelf unused. I tried to explain that about once a month, someone's computer would break. All she could see was the $1,500 sitting unused most of the time. She couldn't understand the real cost of a broken computer, that the person could no longer do their job effectively, parts not getting ordered, jobs not getting expedited, emails not getting returned, me having to drop everything to react to this situation, overnighting in parts. The true impact cost to the company was several hundreds of dollars every month. She couldn't see that having a spare would pay for itself in half a year or so. After a half an hour of fighting over this, I had an epiphany. I handed her requisition approval forms to her and told her she was right and left. Any purchases under $500 didn't need approval at all. Now, nothing I ever bought was over $500. I didn't buy a spare computer, I bought 3 as parts and assembled them into computers. Servers, network storage. Why justify to a bean counter who wouldn't understand anyway? Just buy more parts and assemble yourself. Dual monitors for everybody, bought one at a time. Bite me, Charmaine. OP, you know the best way to justify that computer is to go into your boss's office, sit down and tell them, "Hey boss, you know those toilets we have over there? Well, they typically have less than 20% usage, but when you need them, they're there. Also, your car you drove in here today, it spends about 6% of its life being driven around. The other 94% of the time, it's just an expensive paperweight, but it's there when you need it." Another way to make this even further malicious compliance is just to sit back and wait. And when Charmaine's computer finally breaks, tell her, "Sorry, we don't have a spare PC ready to go, so you'll have to wait while we fix this one. Should be about 5 to 10 days to get your computer working again. It shouldn't affect your productivity, right? I'm sure your supervisor will understand." This next story comes to us from Pallid Bat. Why, of course you can speak to a man. Let's jump right in. This happened about 15 years ago or so. I was a team lead, this will be important later, at an IT help desk for a company that provided outsourced support to companies in a specific profession. Said profession is known for having employees that are very demanding and need everything right now. One of the people I supervised was, let's say, challenging. We'll call him George. George was late 15 or so days a month, spoke in a mostly incomprehensible mumble, and had been caught by callers multiple times, falling asleep and snoring while on a phone call. He's also not so great at troubleshooting, and worse at documenting his troubleshooting steps. At this point, I'd been on a months-long crusade to have him fired, because he was dragging down the team and giving me a constant headache because I had to follow up with his disgruntled users. One morning, I got a phone call from a newer user who was extremely agitated and already angry about his computer issues. I barely got off my standard greeting when this happened. "Look, I'm sure you're really good at whatever it is you do here, but can I talk to one of the men? I need this done right now." I'm never exactly sure why people think my lady parts make me incompetent with a computer, but hey, he did ask for a man, so I'm happy to oblige. I check around the room, and it's early, so no one else is on a call. Gee, who on earth should I send this ray of sunshine to? Obviously, I informed George that my caller wants a man, and is insisting, so I'm transferring the call to him. George spends a good 30 minutes on this call. I hear him start snoring at some point, and he's getting nowhere with the issue. The guy he's working with is getting angrily loud enough that I can hear him over George's headset. Finally, the user demands to speak to George's manager. So George transfers him back to me, and I sweetly apologize for the delay in resolving his issue, and say I'd be happy to help him with his problem if he's okay with me working on it. For some mysterious reason, now he's fine with that. I know the exact fix because I helped the in-house IT people test it out. I have him fixed in 2 minutes flat. I have never heard such a meek thank you. Dude ended up asking for me a lot of the time after that, which, thanks, I guess. At least he was always polite to me. Oh yes, OP, I completely understand. It's hard for women to work in IT because they have to skip over the part where you plug your penis into the computer. I mean, there's a reason they call it a floppy disk, am I right? I guess that also explains why they reduced the floppy disk size from 5 inches down to 3.5 inches. Turns out they overestimated the needs of most users. Check out all 5 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.